Greetings and welcome to Metaphysical Awakenings with Barbara and Eric. Today is episode 3, and our topic for today is Gifts of the Spirit.
Beautiful. So you had a particular question that you wanted to ask.
That's right. In our previous episode, you mentioned being a psychic and also mentioned being a medium. And I was curious, what is the difference? Are they the same? Or
They're very much different. And that is a psychic. It's a good question. A psychic will know claircognizance, see, clairvoyance, hear, clairaudience, feel, clairsentience, and will work with those tools to bring information to their clients or their people to help them find the best roadmap for their lives. You know, information, energy is information. And a medium now, on the other hand, is someone who can go over to the other side, allow my guides to work through me. I step aside, they jump in. I do it a lot when I sing. My singing, I'm off somewhere else, and I swear the angels come in and sing through me. I come out of the song, and sometime I'm not back, and you'll see me warble a little bit. That's because my spirit's like, you got to get back there. You're going to fall over.
I have a similar experience too whenever I'm performing piano, to where sometimes I'll just feel out of body, or I've kind of given up my ego and I'm just in that moment letting spirit work through me, especially whenever I'm playing more meditative music. Let that guide me. I never really consider myself being a medium, but in that definition, maybe in a way it's...
I think everybody has that mediumship.
Oh.
I think sports figures have to get into that zone, you see, and they have to move aside and allow all things to go out of their heads. And I believe that they're being divinely guided by those who came before to help them run. But this is my own personal opinion.
Wow, I've never thought about it in terms of sports, but elite sport athletes, and whenever they're about to shoot that free throw, they're going in that zone.
That zone, right? Yeah. Well, and with me, it helped me when I started writing music, because the message came through that I was going to write music, and I had no clue how to do that. None. But when I finally moved all this out of the way, I could hear, believe it or not, Louis Armstrong coming through to share a little bit about allowing the other singers to come in and help me. And that's when I started writing blues songs. I mean, who am I? I didn't study music. It comes out of the clouds to me, literally. And a lot of the time, it's spirits from the other side who are working through me. And that's what I love about it. Another example would be if you wanted to talk to your grandmother or a relative or friend on the other side, a medium can do that.
But not a psychic.
It's not, maybe they can. I would say we're trying to find the definition. Right. And the definition of a medium is someone who can move out of the way and let another, with their permission, come through and talk. A psychic can give you information out of the ethers about how to do this or that or the other thing. A medium, it's really, really interesting being a medium. And sometimes you've got to learn the hard way.
The hard way? What do you mean by that?
Well, at our church, we had invited we had an animal blessing. Sorry about that. And this woman brought in her dog, and the dog was very well known. And as we sat, she started to weep a little bit about her friend who had committed self-delete. And she was wondering if he was... And he jumped me.
Whoa.
He jumped into me, scared the bejesus out of me, and I pushed him out because I wasn't sure what happened. All I knew, I felt like I had been accosted. And
whoa, scary.
It frightened me. I'm not going to lie. It really frightened me. And after I got, my startle factor, me, I don't necessarily get scared. I get mad because, that's not something that needs to happen with this. But he was so desperate. I got over me. I have to move me aside again after that. And this guy was so desperate to apologize to his family and friends for being so very, what he said, selfish and not dealing with his life and taking himself off. And now he's able to see how everybody is affected. And it was so important to him when he saw my light, he just jumped me. He could have asked my permission, but he didn't want to risk it, boy.
He had something that he had to say. He just needed to apologize.
Right. And that was a Lulu. But now I know better. Now I raise myself into the ethers, my own self, and I protect myself in a white light bubble, and nobody can get in without my permission.
Oh, so like whenever you're doing an animal blessing or any sort of event that you're hosting, you come in prepared in a way.
100%, yes. Mm-hmm.
Sure. What does some of that preparation look like?
Beautiful. Good idea. So, your tools for the trade would be a stick of sage. And I like to use Palo Santo. It smells so wonderful. And the difference is with sage, you're clearing your ethereal, your aura, your spirit self of any attachments or lower energy, or you're just cleansing so that you're pure and ready to go to work.
Sure. And Palo Santo, that's a type of sage? Or
Palo Santo is a wood from Brazil. They sell it in sticks.
Oh, okay.
It smells beautiful, and for me, Palo Santo is peace. I let it roll. It's so beautiful. And when I need peace in my house, I go right to that Palo Santo and just let it burn its way into all of the rooms. And there is a peace that happens because of that wood. So cleansing with going back to your question, cleansing with the sage gets you prepared to go, and then using the peace, the Palo Santo, of course that does your area. And then I ask God to raise my vibration to as absolute high as my physical body can maintain it. If I go too high, then I'm up in the ethers and I forget about my earth body and I get myself in trouble.
So it's kind of a prayer in a way.
It absolutely is like a prayer. Dear Lord, I raise my vibration to the highest possible realm that my physical body can maintain, and I ask for white light bubble of protection, and then I call my angels and the heavenly host who are going to help me with whatever I'm doing today. They will know way ahead of time who's coming.
Right.
I get surprised a lot, but I don't worry because now I have this 100% trust. I did not always.
Right. You've established that frame of protection, and that allows you to do not only your work, but the work through spirit.
Yeah.
Or of spirit.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Yeah, very good. So I want to share with you this very interesting case I had this week.
Okay. Something recent.
Very recent. And in the beginning, I didn't know what to do. I had to call my phone a friend for advice. And what I was doing was overthinking the whole thing. But I have a young man who's on the spectrum. Okay. And he is being drugged because they're saying he's schizophrenic. Well, his mother, who's a very spiritual being, knows he's not schizophrenic. He's talking to his grandmother and his grandfather who are right there. But there's also a being, let's just call him Ronald, okay?
Okay.
Who is attached to him. And there came a time when at 18 years old, the poor young man had a meltdown, and he told his mother and everybody around that Ronald made him do it. And so the mom has been dealing with this for years. She wants to get him off of these horrible drugs. Can you help me? And I'm like, that's a Lulu, huh? So
when you started telling the story, I was thinking it was maybe a young child, because in our previous episode you had mentioned that sometimes young children can see certain things, and I personally have a piano student who is only 3, and sometimes he'll just say, "Who's that?"
I love it. I love it. I love that,
And I'm not seeing anything, but a lot of times it's whenever like one of his parents gets home. Like, and I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. There's nothing over there, but like, he knows.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's who he's referring to or it's something else, but young kids seem to have this gift. But going back to your story, this was someone who is older.
Yeah, 18 to be exact. And it was very sad. You know, his mom's beside herself because nobody's been able to help her this far. So when I called my source, I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go in and necessarily reason with the boy on the spectrum, especially because he's so drugged.
Right.
And she made it so simple. She said, talk to Ronald, the attachment dude. I'm like, talk to Ronald, of
She already
course.
knew the answer.
Right. Perfect answer. And as a medium, that's exactly what I did. Mm-hmm. I asked him, why is it he's attached to this young man? He said he was drawn by the light and that he needed help. Help. Can you help me? And I said, okay. So is it correct that you have been pushing this child to try to help you, and you got frustrated and you caused him to have this reaction? And he said, I'm embarrassed to tell you, yes. And I said, okay, that helps me a lot. I said, what we're going to do is we're going to call forth your angels, my angels, the whole heavenly host, and we're going to say a prayer and open the light for you to go ahead and go home in, because that's what he wanted help with. These kids who are on the spectrum have the brightest lights of all. They're just so pure and beautiful. You know, their minds don't go to all the hodgepodge and the nonsense that we have to deal with in the world. They're in their own little area, their own little bubble, and everything is beautiful for them, right? But spirits who don't necessarily understand that will go and attach themselves and start sucking their energy off.
Kind of like a mosquito drawn to a bright light.
Exactly, like little vampires. So I did have my discussion with Ronald, and I told him it's time for him to go. He's no longer allowed to be around the boy, and would he please, I'm going to say a prayer, go into the light. Oh, I got the goosebumps again. Go into the light, because your mom and dad are standing there waiting for you. And I said, as I said, dear Lord, I felt the pressure. He was already gone.
Right away.
Yeah.
Sounded like he maybe needed some permission to...
He needed help.
Or needed help, okay.
He didn't know how to cross over. Remember we were talking about the ghosts? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're killed so fast they don't realize that they're dead.
You think it was something like that?
I think it was something like that. And I think he... I could go into a whole backstory if I chose to sit and listen to that, but for time's sake, obviously I won't do that today. But that was a learning curve for me. My thought went right to, well, how am I going to help this child?
That was the priority as opposed to helping Ronald.
Yeah, well, I didn't know about Ronald until I recognized him help when he asked for help.
So you help both the child and Ronald.
Right.
Okay.
So we are going to allow the child to be told that Ronald has now gone to heaven, And that hopefully when he stops talking about Ronald all the time, the doctors will wean him off some of this heavy stuff that he does not need to be on. And that was the goal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
Wild.
I wish that young man much success in his journey.
Me too. I'm going to know shortly here in the next couple of weeks how well it went.
So you mentioned earlier that you believe that anyone has the ability to be a medium.
I believe anybody can be anything in the moment that they need to be. And that's a pretty wide statement.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will say that, in a moment where you have a powerful need, if we can remember to put God in the middle of it, a mediumship, an angel, someone will come and help. And I honestly believe that.
Oh, so like calling upon angels is a way of mediumship.
Yes. They can come and work through you. Now, that is a whole different Oprah show, as I say, because understanding mediumship and actually being and doing it can be very disconcerting for you as a spirit with flesh on, and learning to allow, spirit in whatever, whomever, God, angels, family members to come over. But for me, I didn't call a thing. In 2011, when I started the quantum healing class that lasted for 6 weeks, when that was done, when I had a patient, in front of me, I asked them not to tell me what was going on. I wanted to get it clear, and because I can feel, that's another part of mediumship. I can literally feel in their body where something has gone amok. And then I've been working on, the healing process with that.
Okay.
And, I will do my part, but then I send them to a medical doctor too.
Right. So you don't want to do things only spiritually.
Never.
You also want to have medicine and science behind it.
Absolutely.
A very holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I work and God works. If we remember that, then we're in a pretty good space.
Mm-hmm. And I think vice versa is true too. Like a medical doctor can only help a person so much, but that person also has to be in the right mind frame and the right spirituality to do the work on that level so that the doctor's medicine can work.
Oh gosh, you just said a whole mouthful, and I'll give you another example. I worked for the city as the leader of a group of a group of patriotic things, and what I did was all the patriotic events for the city.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nice.
So I'm a volunteer, but as a volunteer, we had to have a secretary who worked for the city, and so I had a wonderful one, and I was getting ready to resign.
Okay.
I had done it for almost 20 years, and I need to change my hat. But as I was picking up my things to leave, she grabbed me by the hand and she shut the door and she said, "Barbara, I have to tell you what's going on because I know that you know something about this and you can help me." And I said, "Oh my gosh, tell me." And she said she was in stage 3 cancer. I'm not going to go into what cancer because people may recognize her. But I said, "Okay, you and me, we're going to do this right now." She was so open and so willing that we prayed the prayer. I did what I usually do with what I do with healing. And it was done. It was through. I felt that whoosh, again, something moved. I couldn't tell you in the moment what it was. But she went up the following Wednesday to have her scans done again, her PET scans. And she drove up to Jacksonville for it. And she got all the way home and they're like, "Ma'am, it looks like we've lost your scans. Could you come back up here and allow us to do this again?" And she's like, Sure.
I think I know where this might be going. Maybe they actually had the scans and maybe they thought like something was wrong, like
Correct.
they got the wrong persons or like the machine malfunctioned or something.
Exactly. So they did it all again and got the same answer. And they put her in some kind of a magazine for spontaneous healing. It was God. It was her desire, her intention to heal.
Her openness.
Absolutely. I can't help somebody if they're not open to allow
that makes a lot of sense.
And that was awesome.
Yeah, I guess if a healer comes and the person has a lot of doubt, that would make it really challenging for the healer or maybe even impossible.
You can never go against somebody's free will.
Mm-hmm.
And these days, when I go and get myself into healing modalities, I have to ask them, are you open for this to happen or do you have doubts? And if they have doubts, I just gently explain, we need to consider that God is in every single thing that we do, and just let yourself open up for a moment so I can get in there and get it. And sometimes that's good, and then sometimes it doesn't work. And then there's other times, oh boy, here we go again. There's other times that people who are open and willing block me. I can't get in. What is going on? Excuse me, Matt.
Sure.
And that...
Interesting. I would think if they're open and willing, that there would be no blockage. What would cause a blockage?
That was a good question because it went on and on for me for a little while. Our former piano player for Unity had a big block. I could not get through. She wanted me to read her so badly. And finally, so frustrated, I got in my car and of course I'm yelling, what is going on? You know, the old Barbara came back. And when I finally calmed down, it was this. I am being blocked because she has the capacity to heal herself. And it is her job to do, not mine.
Wow.
Wow.
And wow, that really aligns with the stories that we hear in the Bible of Jesus and all the healings that Jesus did. The most successful ones were the ones where the person had the faith to do it themselves.
The woman touching the robe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, immediately.
Just reaching out.
Yeah.
The guy with the crippled arm, and Jesus just says, reach out. And he did, and he healed himself.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Because if you remember to put God in the absolute middle of everything that you do, you can't miss. Yeah. You won't miss. Now, are you going to have a happily ever after life and no crummy things are ever going to happen again? No. But we'll get into that in our next talk, I think.
All right.
But, yeah.
So going back to psychics, do you feel that anyone is able to be a psychic, or is that just a gift of the spirit that only certain people develop or have?
I believe that your little 3-year-old has all her clairs still, she or he, right? And she's going to keep those clairs until some older person tells them that's bad.
Right.
Okay? We come to this earth with those gifts, and we get tuned out of them because of fear. Fear is man-made. Fear has nothing to do with God. And yes, you're going to ask a question?
Well, I would think from a evolving type of standpoint, evolution, we use fear as a tool to, in one way, protect us in a healthy way, but fear can be manipulated the other way to pretty much enslave other people, not physically, sometimes physically, but their minds.
100%. And that is where we are with the earth right now. It has gone on so long, the fear base and the negativity and the taking people's very selves, their souls, if you will, and not allowing them to be themselves. Well, as the world turns, that might be a soap, as the world turns, things are starting to come back to center. You know, we have a pendulum, we go way that way, and then we go way that way. We're coming back to center, where God is within. God gives us everything we need in every moment of every day.
That's right.
And we cannot fear that. This is our main goal. We want to eradicate fear and put it based in love where it's supposed to be.
What's one of the quickest ways that if someone is in that state of fear, unhealthy fear, what can they do to alleviate that?
Well, I would put God right in the middle of it, and I teach people about the tree. Shall we go into the oak tree?
I think so.
Okay. When we are standing in the middle of the problem, what do we see?
We can only see pretty much, we're blinded. We can only see what's directly in front of us, only like what our ego sees, how we feel in that moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of a narrow lens of what we're seeing.
All we see is the problem.
Oh, you're right. All we see is the problem, yeah.
And there's no way around that until or unless you choose to pop to your higher self. And doing that, I've given people the tool of my big live oak tree. So when you're in the middle of a problem, just stop what you're doing. Don't give it any more energy. Come with me and sit in the first branch, and we're way up now, and we can look down on the problem, and we're not in the middle of it. Now we're going to put God in the middle of it, and we're going to look at that problem, and we're going to walk all of the facts backward. And we're going to find what is the origin of this problem. Who, if it involves a person, we're going to put their moccasins on, just like in Indian maidens. We're going to walk 5 miles backwards in their shoes and see where this came from. All right? With the help of spirit, you'll get patterns and pictures and all of that. And I'm going to say 90% of the time, the people who are coming and dumping things on you just want company. It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
They don't know what to do or where to go. But getting up in the tree, you can bring in God, you can bring in Jesus, your angels, your guides, you know, your doggies, your kitties, whatever you're comfortable with that makes your spirit just settle down and go back to that love space. That's who you go up in the tree with, and then you look at the problem.
Wow. That's some really great advice.
Thank you.
Right there. So if someone wants to develop their gifts of spirit, what are some strategies for doing that and growing in those gifts?
Sure. Well, first of all, you're going to feel growing pains. You're going to feel anxious and have this, oh gosh, I want to learn now. And that's the problem with our society is we've got instant gratification all of the time.
Right. We want to get to that finish line without going through the journey.
Right. Well, it doesn't work because you don't get your tools along the way.
Right.
And the number one tool for grounding and centering yourself is going to be meditation and quieting yourself, your mind. So you're able to put that aside and be within the nothingness. And when spirit starts to talk to you, you can write it down. Oh, we're going to do a class here on
Journaling
Saturday.
is very powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But meditation is your key to the kingdom, and quieting yourself so that you are able to feel it, see it, hear it, know it, whatever your gifts are in a meditation, that's where it will come in. Now, what kind of meditation? That's really easy for me to say, right? I would start, if you're starting brand new, I would start online with a guided meditation. Just listen to a few and let them take you to a place where everything goes quiet. And if you find one that you really love, use it. Practice makes progress. And pretty soon, as with me, I don't need to do the meditation anymore. It just comes in the moment.
Right. From that practice.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. From 2004 on, I've been practicing.
Sure. Yeah, guided meditations are great. And if you don't have a guided meditation, sometimes we're not in a spot where we have a device where we can do that. You can always go back to something that we always have within us, which is our breath.
Yes, breath work.
One of the very first ones that I learned is just counting backwards from 10 of your inhales and exhales. So 10, let it out, and then inhale with 9, etc. And
beautiful.
And there's going to be times to where you forget the numbers. There might be times where your mind wanders off and you start feeling guilty, like, oh, I'm not doing it right. I'm meditating wrong. But part of the meditation is a practice. So forgive yourself if that ever happens, because it's going to happen. It happens to all of us. And just restart from 10. Go backwards. Forgive yourself and get back to that focus and that practice. And so that's one of my favorite meditations.
Very good. Very good. There's all kinds of different ways, and that's very powerful because the breath of God is within you.
Oh, yes.
There's your power center. You have to speak intention over your life before you start this. It is my intention to meditate, to allow myself as Barbara to move aside and allow Spirit to come in and use me for that which I'm here to do. And
beautiful.
The breath work is powerful. Sure. I love that.
Great. Any closing thoughts as far as gifts of the Spirit?
You have them. You have them all. You've been suckered out of them. Okay? And it's not necessarily anybody in your families or around you. It's not a fault of them. This has been going on since the 4th century in the Council of Nicaea, when all of the books got thrown out and burned, and then we created one Bible, which is fine and dandy, but all of that information was not allowed. Within that was our psychic awarenesses, our ability to speak to God on our own. Now we have to go through a priest or a pastor, right? And then also, gosh, it just ran out of my head. Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to dive into that topic deeper. Maybe that could be a future...
powerful stuff. Yeah.
Future talk.
Oh, and reincarnation.
Right.
Reincarnation was a huge part of life until it got cut out and it wasn't. And then, do you know what happened after that?
No. What happened?
Okay. What happened was really horrible. They took all of the books that were not used and they were burned. And anyone seen with these books afterward were murdered and their books were burned.
Wow.
That's why we had all of the Dead Sea Scrolls hidden in caves.
Oh, so some of that knowledge still exists and it has been saved.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Thank God somebody found it. And I mean, amongst that material, they found the oldest living piece of the Lord's Prayer in existence. So it's all in there. And I really strongly encourage everybody to start looking for yourself. And when something rings your bell, you're onto something. Now, follow that until it leads you to other things. Mine was studying world religions. And whoa, what an eye-opener that was. But we got to get rid of the fear.
Absolutely.
We have had that hammered into our soul. It's in our DNA now. And I'm working on that.
From what I hear, sometimes it takes multiple generations to get that out of your DNA.
Can?
7 generations?
No, I'm not gonna hear that. I'm going to say that with the information that was downloaded last with me, what I use are spiritual stem cells. And the spiritual stem cells are actually the truth of that which is, and the marrying of that with your cell structure now, and allowing those cells that have gone sideways or wonky to fall aside and let the root go into your DNA and watch what happens. You know, our DNA changes every lifetime.
That makes sense.
Think about the guy. Did you ever see the guy that was in Chernobyl, living within the radiation radius? The guy lived to be 85, and he's on the news talking about how he and his wife are living there. And, you know, you're looking at all these animals that are clearly affected.
Right.
I mean, you know, the plants, everything that they're doing and eating are affected. How in the world did this guy survive this?
I'm not sure. How?
His DNA changed. In the moment, his DNA allowed for that to be so that he could go on living. I don't know if he asked, I don't know how he did it, but his DNA was absolutely altered by all that radiation. And if he can do that, why can't we?
Powerful.
That's my quantum healing. That's why I keep going with it. I get these downloads that are profound and mind-boggling. And there's so much more to come.
I'm looking forward to this journey and hearing more of these downloads and exploring all these different facets of metaphysical awakenings.
Absolutely. I love this, Eric.
Me too, Barbara. So should we end with the prayer for protection?
Absolutely.
All right.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. See you next time.
Bye.